Hi guys, it's Circle M. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we're going to look at sustaining power and electronics in the field. First things first, I would recommend that you choose a good quality hard case in order to protect your sensitive electronics and batteries from the elements and from banging into other objects while they're being transported. This particular case was a cheap one from Harbor Freight. It is the appropriate size for what I need. You might need something else based on what you're trying to take into the field, but it doesn't have to be super expensive or elaborate. And as you can hear with the foam in here, there is a very little amount of rattle, but everything packs quite well for what I want to take into the field. As I currently have this packed, I have very little to no extra room to put other electronics in here. I've practiced with this enough to know that this is exactly what I need, but you may need to buy a couple of different cases in order to get everything to fit the way you want it for what you're trying to do. First on top, I have my cables. This isn't packed in any particular order other than what it takes to get everything to fit nicely in here. I have my cable to be able to charge my phones and also my FLIR Breach. They happen to use the exact same type of cable, so if the cable that's on my helmet goes down or vice versa, I can exchange these back and forth to use. This cable here is specific to the solar panel battery bank setup that I have, which I will show you guys here in a minute, but make sure that you have the cables that you need. This device is the charging cradle for the Baofeng radio. It's packed here, it fits very nicely, it's lightweight, and I'm using the USB connection instead of carrying the entire brick that would plug into a normal wall outlet in order to make everything fit and work nicely with what I have. In order to charge the batteries themselves, I'm using a Tenergy dual battery charger. This is compatible with a very wide amount of batteries, including 18650s, and the reason I like it is it gives me a display telling me how full the battery is, and it has selectable modes based on the type of battery. I can change lithium ion and the amount of amperage that's going into them. Nothing is more annoying than having a battery that needs charging and not being able to tell how close you are to being done. There may be a situation where half of a charge is good enough to get something done. This is nice because it will actually show you how far along you are. The actual charging itself takes place with this battery bank that has the solar panels integrated into it. With a fully loaded charge on the battery bank, you can recharge multiple devices many times. The solar panel helps keep it topped off and in an emergency setting can sort of keep the battery full. It does not work as well as a dedicated solar panel, but if it's an emergency, it will keep things topped off, and it works well enough that it's good enough for what we're trying to do. It does come with the display on how full the battery is, as well as a backup emergency flashlight. This is something to be conscientious of if you are trying to remain discreet. It is putting off a light signature, and it is possible, depending on how you're mashing the buttons, to accidentally turn on this flashlight. It's a nice feature to have, but just something to remain conscientious of. Here, if I plug in the battery charger to the battery bank using the USB, you'll see that it gives me a nice little display telling me the battery type and the status for it. If I plug in one of my batteries here as an example, once it boots up, you can see that it has different charging time and different power based on how much is in the battery and what the battery needs. This Baofeng radio with the stock rubber duck removed fits nicely into the box. If you want a longer antenna, you'll either have to get a different box or a different place to store it. You can see the cradle plugged into the battery bank will work very nicely to charge this radio up. In the current configuration, I'm able to store 8 CR123As, which are rechargeable, in their plastic protective cases, and 18650 multiple double and AAA batteries protected in a sandwich bag in the box. There is room for more, but not much, but this is a lot of batteries that fit into a reasonably small space, and they are protected from the elements, which is the most important part. The final item I have is a spare red and white lens flashlight. There is nothing wrong with carrying an extra headlamp if you have the space for it. These can break, get damaged. You could have a friend that needs one. So since it fits, it doesn't take up much space. It's relatively light. I personally choose to carry an extra one, and I don't think it's a bad idea if you were to do that as well. As you can see, I have the ability to carry a lot of power-related equipment in a very small package and stay self-sufficient in the field for a very long time. A lot of people will go out on camping trips for maybe a day or two or three, and they don't ever think about the long-term implications of needing to have electronic sustainment away from a traditional source like a power grid. So I hope this was helpful for you, maybe in getting some ideas or changing something that you have, you like, you want, or you might need when you are planning for a more extended time that you might be away from power. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time.